First of all, I want to thank members of the media for coming. Such strong numbers here today, showing that Taman Rimba Kiara is of great interest to the residents of Kuala Lumpur, not just in Taman Tun or Segambut. And together with me, I have Cynthia Gabriel from C4, who will be talking more on the conflict of interest issue in this case. And we also have Datuk Ambiga, who is a voter in Segambut, but more importantly, she was with me when we campaigned to save Taman Rimba Kiara during the election period. Okay, we had a ceramah in Taman Tun Dr. Ismail, and Save Taman Rimba Kiara was a key election issue, especially on bad land deals by the former FD minister all around Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so I believe every member of the press, you have received a copy of this leaflet. Since this issue has been highlighted in the press multiple times, many news articles written, I, as the Member of Parliament for Segambut, feel that it's important and necessary to call for a town hall to update all my residents on the latest development, what is going on, who has said what is happening. And so we are having a town hall this Saturday, and I would appreciate if the media can help me write about this. Anyone can come because this is really a battle that is beyond Taman Tun Dr. Ismail. The call for good governance, saving green lungs, and also providing housing for the longhouse residents in Taman Tun. The town hall is on 18 May, Saturday, 9 a.m. at Taman Tun Dr. Ismail Community Centre. So I organize it. I will be presenting the latest proposal from both sides. So currently on the table, there are two proposals. One is the one by FT Minister Khalid Samad to scale down the project. And we have said no, myself, Taman Tun Dr. Ismail RA, and also the Longhouse residents. There are 3 residents association in the Longhouse community, and one of them, together with us, we have said no to the scaled down version. Our counter proposal is if you want to build, you must only build within the Longhouse footprint, the current Longhouse. That means you must not encroach into the park, Taman Rimba Kiara. Okay, so there are 2 proposals, and the FT Minister has said that he will bring these to the Cabinet for the Cabinet to decide. Now, I welcome this decision to bring it to the Cabinet because I also agree that the FT Minister is in a conflicted position. The strong conflict of interest there is because he is also the chairman of Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan, who now owns part of Taman Rimba Kiara. Okay, so we welcome it to bring to Cabinet. Now, second thing I want to mention is in those news articles, the FT Minister talked a lot about compensation if we cancel, because we have said that this is wrong, there should be cancellation of the project. And he has said that, if we cancel, then we are talking about compensation. Now, because it involves compensation from the government, I want to say that the Attorney General, Tommy Thomas, should rightfully be consulted because it involves compensation by the government. Has this matter been sent by the FT Ministry to the Attorney General's office? I want Attorney General Tommy Thomas to be consulted to look into this. The third thing I want to mention is on MACC. I have lodged MACC report when I first was elected, but I'm not the first to have lodged the report. TTDIRA, before this, they have lodged. The former Member of Parliament for Segambut, he has also lodged similar reports. And after me, C4 has gone to provide extra information on conflict of interest to MACC. Now, what is MACC doing about this information? Clearly, very evidently, there's conflict of interest. Why hasn't MACC replied to these allegations? And so now I pass the time to Cynthia to explain further about the conflict of interest.
Thank you, YB Hannah. Thank you. It's a pleasure to actually join you in this press conference. I am from the Center to Combat Corruption and Cronyism. So this is our office. So welcome. And sorry for the space. I did tell Hannah that I'm not sure whether there's going to be enough room for the press, but obviously her cause and whatever she's doing is something that is of great public interest. So apologies for the small room, but it's a very nice feeling to have so many media actually listening in to this, because it's such a critical, important issue. Now, I just want to also thank Ambi, our long-standing civil society leader, for being here at this important press conference, because what I'm about to show you, I think I'll stand so that I can also see what's being shown to you, is something that is very interesting. Now, with the change of government, we've actually had quite a bit of cases coming up of leaders of Barisan Nasional being dragged to MACC for various corruption cases. Tengku Adnan has been charged already for one case. But we are very surprised also why the Taman Rimba Kiara case, which has so many evident details of conflict of interest, not yet any action taken. I'm not giving up on the fact that no action will be taken, but I'm saying that it is really, really important that the government actually takes very important steps to quell this kind of land grab cases. And guess what? When we got interested in Tengku Adnan's so-called activities of the past and how he was charged for the first case, we conducted some conflict of interest issues, trying to see were the developers and the property developers actually colluding with the people in power and the government ministers to actually get what they want? Or were the government leaders also actually getting what they want by colluding with the property developers? And the case of Taman Rimba Kiara actually says quite a lot. Now, I'm just going to present you something very brief, but I think you'll be very interested to cover this. Lalita, please. Okay, this is the developer called Memang Perkasa. Who are they? Nice name, right? Memang Perkasa. Now, who are the shareholders of Memang Perkasa? You have Malton. Now, Malton, we all know, is the big developer that has interest in so many Kuala Lumpur projects, and even beyond, Langkawi, all kinds of things. Now, Malton shareholders, Memang Perkasa, mainly owned by Malton, Tegap Dynamic, and Regal Marvel Construction, which is wholly owned by Malton. So far, quite easy, right? Okay, then it gets more complicated. Next is this woman called Rosma Nira. She's not our Rosma that we all know. Huh? So her name is Rosma Nira. She's a very critical partner of Tengku Adnan. She is a shareholder of and director of Tegap Dynamic. This is the shareholder of Memang Perkasa. Now next is, she is also the shareholder of another company called Aman Iktisas. And please pay attention to this, because Aman Iktisas owns 33.3% of Dataran Hartajaya, which is another company. Who is Dataran Hartajaya? Now, you will find that there's this other company called Tatmansori Holdings, which owns 66.7% of Dataran Hartajaya. Now, normally by this time already we'll get all, like it's all over our heads, who owns who, what owns what. But it'll be interesting as you see that Tengku Adnan, former Federal Territories Minister, owns 99.9% of Tatmansori. So from this picture, it's pretty obvious that he has placed his own companies via Tatmansori, who owns Dataran Hartajaya, and Aman Iktisad, who also is a shareholder, actually links back to how the development of Taman Rimba Kiara will take shape. The actual developers, Memang Perkasa, and then Tengku Adnan brings in his own company. Now, I think the question to ask and to answer is, was Tengku Adnan conflicted? Right? Then you have this, the Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan. It's supposed to be a yayasan, which is a foundation. But it isn't quite a yayasan, because I'll show you in the next slide, but please pay attention to the fact that Tengku Adnan is actually the chairman of Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan. Then you find that Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan actually got into a joint venture on the 7th of April 2014 to build Pavilion Taman Tun, the project. Okay? And the joint venture is to build a block of apartments for longhouse residents, 8 blocks of luxury apartments, and so on, with Memang Perkasa. Now the question is, why is Yayasan getting into a JV with Memang Perkasa? Is that what they are mandated for to do? We checked their website. They're supposed to be engaged in poverty eradication programs and helping with the welfare, humanitarian issues for Kuala Lumpur, urban poor residents, and so on and so forth. But really, the primary concern is the Federal Territories Minister is the chairman of an entity which is actually registered under the Companies Commission. It's a company, not a yayasan per se. It's a company registered, limited by guarantees. So they hide behind the guise of yayasan and so on. So now the next quick slide would be, I think another small fact, which is a very big fact and connecting fact, is that Rosman Rira was also the director of Memang Perkasa, appointed in 27 January 2014, when the joint venture was actually sorted out on the 7th of April 2014, which means she had a big hand in it, and she's Tengku Adnan's primary business associate and all that, based on the links of this company. We'll give you a copy of this so that you can actually ask questions later and figure out the connections. Okay? Now next, very quickly, this is the SSM profile of Yayasan. Okay? So confirm they are, you can go back, do your own search, you will find the same thing. They are, the corporate information is that they are a company incorporated under the Companies Act. The reason we want to know, I think as an MP, as residents of Taman Rimba Kiara, as the media, as an anti-corruption group like C4, is why is the Federal Territories Minister the chairman of Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan? Very odd. And in fact, I would say that that's a conflicted position because he is the Federal Territories Minister. So why also are the accounts, we tried very hard to secure their accounts on the website, cannot find. So they're not transparent about how they spend their money, where they get their money from, which entities actually give them funding to carry out their work, and so on and so forth. Well, many questions here, and I think we need to actually get down into the details of what really is Yayasan's role, especially since they got into the joint venture on this deal. Are they supposed to get into all this? Okay, I think just one more slide. I already spoke about that. This is where we're really concerned. Guess who's the new chairman of Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan with the change of government? Guess lah. Yeah, it's here. It's the new Federal Territories Minister. Yeah, so how come? Because Pakatan Harapan stands for a lot of things they said that they will do. Reform and so on. Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan is obviously one of those that actually needs some rethinking through. And why is he the chairman of Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan? I think it's a very important question for him to answer because even the residents of Taman Rimba Kiara have pointed out so articulately that this is a clear conflict of interest case. And if it's not, then I think he just should explain to us. Okay? And DBKL Mayor is also a director of Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan.
Wow.
Are we surprised? No, right? Okay. So I think that's about what we wanted to show. And just to add also that this kind of research are really difficult because we are governed with a culture of secrecy all these last 61 years. The agreements, everything is under the Official Secrets Act. But we can find some of these things because some of them are public listed companies, some of them you can use SSM search to map the details and all that. But I really want to urge the press, the media, the journalists, I think this is where your role is so critical. And not just reporting the news, but you're also helping to connect the dots with who are the stakeholders, who are the people that are behind the scenes that will eventually collude at the expense of citizens and residents. Very important to actually write like the investigative part of where things are, and especially now, I think with Pakatan in power, the media has been so much freer to be able to express so many things. Of course, don't write about the Johor royalty, that's a different story, but that's just a joke. It's just about the fact that we have to be far more investigative about all these things, because it will assist YB Hannah in articulating the important need for a massive review in whether the project should go ahead or not. Thank you.
Before I pass the time to Datuk Ambiga, I want to reiterate that this information have all been given by C4 to MACC. What is taking MACC so long when the background work has been done by C4? If this is not clear conflict of interest, then I don't know what is. It cannot get any clearer than this. Now, number two is on the longhouse. We are not against longhouse residents from having new housing. We are all for new housing for longhouse residents, and that has been a consistent stand since election time. We have said we are all for longhouse residents getting new house, but do not encroach into Taman Rimba Kiara, okay? And do not use the longhouse residents to justify greed. Do not use the longhouse residents to justify encroachment into a green lung. Okay, we will not sit down and accept this. And together with the residents, both in the longhouse and also TTDIRA, we will continue to pursue this. Yes, Datuk Ambiga.
Thank you very much. I speak as a resident, as a voter, more than anything else. But I have to express my utter disappointment in the PH government, I'm sorry, Hannah, in not fulfilling a vision that we all had for the future of Malaysia. Now I'm looking at Kuala Lumpur. It is so overdeveloped anyway, and what I thought this government would do would be to put a stop to that. I actually breathed a sigh of relief, and I thought, oh, our green lungs are safe. Thank goodness we are not held captive by developers. Unfortunately, this example of Taman Rimba Kiara is a stark example of how this government is not distancing itself from the last government. All right? Why is this minister not distancing himself from someone like Tunku Adnan, whom we have known for years to have been involved in issues relating to developers? And you can see from this, the chart that Cynthia has put up, clear conflict of interest. Now, for me, I couldn't understand actually why this joint venture, why did the minister not consider, or if he did, I stand corrected. I'd like to know whether he considered setting aside the alienation of the land to Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan. Was there any attempt to look at the legality of that? Now, I know the minister says, as government, you must fulfill contracts. I don't disagree with that. I believe that to be the case too. But where there has been a clear illegality, then your duty is to the people. And that includes looking into the possibility of the legality of this contract. Now you can see for yourself, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out what happened there. Okay? And it looks as if it's carrying on. And as Hannah says, using the longhouse residents, I mean, that is so disappointing. Okay? And it's pretty disgusting, with due respect, to use the longhouse residents to further the agenda of a private developer, when actually it's public interest that must come first, not the interest of the private developer. So I would say all the MPs actually, and I think Derek Fernandez has called for this, because there's yet another project, that there are a few others, by the way, this is not the only one, which appear to be carrying on, that we appeal to the Kuala Lumpur MPs, all of them actually, to ensure that this overdevelopment in Kuala Lumpur stops. I think there was an article maybe a year ago or so, which suggests that we may have nearly 30 new malls, okay, in KL, and by the year 2020. Now, why aren't we looking at all of that? why aren't we looking at the Kuala Lumpur City Plan, which, by the way, was, in my view, also wrongly gazetted, because it was gazetted without consultation with relevant stakeholders. But why are we doing this? Why are we being held captive to developers who want to put up more and more office space and residences when there is an oversupply? It doesn't match with the needs of the people of Kuala Lumpur. So I would urge, I mean, look, if I am wrong, I'm prepared to stand corrected. But I would like the minister, and I know he has given some kind of answer to things that we have raised, but please be rational in your answers to us, okay? You criticized the Barisan government when they did almost exactly the same things. Now you need to be able to take that criticism and be frank with us as to what is going on. Why do we still have this yayasan? Yayasan means you're helping the poor. But look at the way it's disguised. They help a few poor, yes. But who is the largest beneficiary of that joint venture? It is the private developer. So really, I think all the MPs, we need some disclosure from the minister, we need some disclosure from the people in DBKL. We want to know what's going on. And I think MACC must proceed to look into that alienation to YYP. How did that happen? What is the legality of that? And I believe, and again, I say to the minister, if I'm wrong, I'm ready to stand corrected. I gather they are getting advice from a private lawyer. Now, why? Why, when the Attorney General's chambers is there? Have they sought advice from the Attorney General's chambers in relation to all of this? So I think I agree with YB Hannah's call for this matter to be referred to the Attorney General. I think that it is very disappointing, I'm sorry. It is hugely disappointing that this government is doing this, continues to do this to us. And I think that we have to stand up and speak up. I admire YB Hannah because she's prepared to stand up and speak up. And she's right. The first time we heard about this conflict of interest was at one of the charamas. We were all there. And that was one of the issues, one of the campaign issues. And Pakatan Harapan government owes it to us to ensure that there is full disclosure and full investigation into this project. So I speak also, as I say, as a resident, and I think we need to stop issuing, stop being apologists for the developers. MPs and ministers cannot be apologists for private interests, okay? You represent public interest. So please explain to us, don't be glib and don't be sarcastic. Be clear-cut with facts and tell us exactly what is going on here. Thank you.
Any questions?
Will Baby Khalid be attending the town hall?
I have already sent it to the KL MP's WhatsApp chat group, and I say everybody is welcome because I will be presenting everything that has taken has happened in the last few months so far. Yeah, everybody is welcome.
How awkward does this situation make it for you as part of the government?
My first duty is to the voters of Segambut because the mandate to enter parliament comes from them. And so this is a duty I owe to the voters of Segambut to fulfill what I promised to champion at the election. Even though I am from the same Harapan government as a deputy minister now, I'm from the same government, but yes, credibility matters more than anything else in politics. And this is the reason why I entered politics, to fight corruption, and this is a clear case, conflict of interest. Here we're not talking about just a private developer, we are talking about a development that comes all the way down to the politician himself, Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan Chairman, being involved. Okay? And we are not against the longhouse residents getting new houses, but stop using them to pocket millions. Yeah.
So is there any excuse to the fact that they have to pay 150 million compensation because earlier you said it's
The figures given by the FT minister at the town hall, it was about 500 million, then it dropped to 150, then we corrected him to say it's 115 based on the affidavit filed in court, payment made so far by the developer. Yeah. At the site, the project has not started. There's no work at the site now. Okay, and we are saying build the housing if you want, but do not go beyond the current footprint of the longhouse because that is into Taman Rimba Kiara. Okay.
And actually, as far as legally speaking, and I issued a statement on this, so I'm just reading from that, that the only compensation payable in the event of termination, where the land is undeveloped, is the actual expenditure incurred, as stated under 25(6) of the Federal Territory Planning Act. Okay, so this means the purchase price for the land, not even the present value, purchase price for the land premium and other expenses, all of which you need to prove. So it is an unrealistic figure in my view.
Yeah.
question. So if there's no development being done so far, so that means they don't have to pay anything now, right? Is that what I'm...
You don't have to pay anything, you pay whatever you have incurred. All right, which is for clearing the land or whatever it is, whatever costs.
Yeah, and if this matter is going to be brought to the cabinet on the decision to be made, compensation contract should be reviewed by the Attorney General because it's contracts involving government.
And you should go after those who have also entered into this contract wrongly to foot that bill. Yeah.
I don't know because the FT minister is the one who will be bringing the paper to the cabinet. I have requested that my input need to be submitted together so that the cabinet is properly briefed on the options that are before them. Yeah.
Previously, Khalid allowed a paper by residents to be submitted as well. So what's the progress now?
My paper is ready. We are just waiting for when he's going to bring the paper. I will attach mine in. Yeah.
Paper is co-signed by the residents.
Do you know when?
I don't know. He said that he has to circulate the paper to get feedback from other ministries, and that's why we are saying the AG, Attorney General input must also be considered. Yeah.
Was this matter ever brought to the Majlis Menteri Wilayah, which is supposed to be the KL version of Bandung?
In the last 1 year, do you think I have not done so? I would have exhausted. I have exhausted every possible way to raise it in official meetings, in unofficial meetings, in WhatsApp chat group for everyone who is wondering why I'm doing a press conference. You don't have WhatsApp, but of course I have WhatsApp. I have done everything. I have done everything to try to convince the FT minister that this is a wrong project to begin with, and the right thing to do is to honour what we promised the people of Kuala Lumpur.
What's the feedback from the other FT Wilayah MPs?
You got to ask them. Yeah. But this Taman Rimba Kiara is beyond Taman Tun. The interest for Taman Rimba Kiara comes from all over Selangor. There are thousands of people who come to Taman Tun to exercise on a weekend. Okay, we have Taman Rimba Kiara, we have Bukit Kiara, and we have Taman Rimba Kiara. Okay. Any other questions?
So what we call it resign from Yayasan?
They should dissolve Yayasan. What is that entity doing there? If it's going into joint venture and all that, development, then it's against the purpose of the Yayasan, I would imagine.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Your proposal to build it within the longhouse footprints, meaning they have to move before it's being built, right? So has the association come into agreement where it could be moved during the period if this is to be agreed?
We have proposed a few options. So the proposal that we are giving to the cabinet is number one, cancel the whole project. But if the cabinet feels that okay, we don't have the money to pay back whatever that has been paid, then we are saying okay, you allow to build within the current longhouse footprint so that the longhouse people get their housing and you don't encroach into the park. So win-win for both sides. Okay, that's our proposal. And I think these are very feasible proposals put forward. But MACC needs to do their job. This is so clear-cut. Every info has been done by C4, given on a plate to MACC. Why has it taken so long for MACC to investigate this? Yeah.
Is these two solutions the only solutions given in your paper to the cabinet?
I have not put it in yet, but we have written it up. It's ready. Khalid will tell us when to put it in together. Yeah. Okay. The call that the residents don't want to move until the new house is built. There are other ways to look into temporary rehousing, okay, which we can discuss in detail once the cabinet decides on these two options. Yeah.
Datuk Ambiga, can you just ask, with the conflict of interest and the possible illegality of how the land was taken, can the government actually seize back the land? Or?
Yes, you can set aside, if there's an illegality, yes, you can. But I don't know whether they've even looked into it. That's my concern. And I think, I'm heartbroken to have to sit here with the Pakatan Harapan government in power, asking for the same things that I asked of the BN government. We shouldn't be in this position. So I think all we're saying is get the AG's advice, get him to look at it, because to me, on the face of it, it looks wrong. Okay? There's a conflict of interest, there are personal interests there of the former FT minister. That would be an illegality, and on the grounds of public policy or whatever it is, at least you must consider going to court to set aside this outrageous bargain, So that's all I'm saying.
There are some residents who are present here today. So after the PC, you can actually talk to them about the fight at that level. It is really critical that the people and the residents actually lead this charge to ensure that there's sufficient support for the call for YB Hannah to also be heard at the cabinet level. I think that's really quite critical, and they've been really quite exemplary in how I've viewed things, from the persistency, the consistency, the research that they've undertaken as well. So it's like, please talk to them later.
Okay, and that's why the town hall this Saturday is so important, to update the people, because so far they've been reading all the news articles, and of course, they may be confused, who is proposing what. That's why we are saying those who love the park and those who also want the longhouse residents to get housing, you can come and listen to what we are. And this is the right way to constantly update our people, the residents, on the latest. Yeah.
We just want to clarify, your suggestion to consult the AG basically is at the part of, since there's compensation involved from government, right?
Both. For the cabinet paper to go before the cabinet, of course, they usually send the paper to get feedback from other ministries that are related. I think the Attorney General's input will be very important in this case, because you are talking about conflict of interest, impropriety, you are talking about compensation, the whole thing. Yeah.
So the paper should be, give one copy to the AG, is it?
No, the AG should be consulted in this matter. You must remember, when the paper is being submitted to cabinet for consideration, yes, it comes from the FT ministry, but it also comes from the Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan chairman, who is the landowner. Okay? Ken? Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you. Okay. I think all of